Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We are back with the Howell Business Beat, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Diane Samples.
Hello, everyone.
We are excited to be here. We have joining us today our guest, Kevin Suboski, and he is an EOS implementer, among many other things. He's got a great, diverse background, which I'm going to let you share a little bit on that and your career path and what you kind of do today, Kevin.
Oh, hi everybody. So that take it away. Hi everybody. Yeah. So what I do today. So professionally, my interest has been for the last 30 years the practices of entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership. And so I work with small business owners, helping them improve their prospects in their business. And I do that in a couple of ways. For smaller companies, I have a program to help them get to the point where they become a bigger company. For those bigger companies, I am an EOS implementer. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's a set of tools that you don't necessarily have to learn all the details that I did about how to be a great leader. You just do these simple things, and gosh, you will look like an amazing leader. So that's what EOS does for you.
Yeah, I've reading the book Traction. If you have not read it,
Yeah.
I would recommend just a read. It's a very quick read, and it can be life changing. For some companies, especially some of those larger ones. So I think that's what drew us together today is just and what really initially connected us. I know our chamber board chair Andrea Darlene has worked with you, and their company has worked, and they run on EOS as well. But I'm really interested today
True.
because when we sat down and met, you had a fascinating story, or at least I found it fascinating. So kind of how you got to be this implementer and working with businesses, and how what was the career path that you took to get there, because I think there was a lot of self exploration along the way, and some things that you discovered about yourself, and I just, again, I found it very fascinating and thought that our listeners might find it fascinating too.
Yeah, yeah. So it's always interesting. So I'm getting older now. So I'm 59, and so whenever anybody asks me, "So how'd you get here?" I tell them it's a longer story now than it used to be. So you bear with me because when I was a little boy, I had candy stands on the side of the road. So I think that there is something about sort of a personality profile of entrepreneurs. People who are drawn to leadership, drawn to entrepreneurship to me, which is a little different than business. Business is sort of the mechanics of transacting, whereas entrepreneurship is really driving change in the practices of others. And so I was always interested and fascinated with both that piece and the transacting. And so I early on in my career, so I was an IT guy. I worked for Sun Microsystems, and one of my clients had was venture funded, and I got to sit in on a dinner with them where the venture guy was like helping them with their business, and it was the coolest thing that I'd ever participated in. This guy's flying at 30,000 or 50,000 feet, helping the CEO, thinking this things through, and I was just rapt. I was just enamored with this concept, and ever since then in my 20s, it's like I want to do that someday. I want to be of strategic value to people running a business, and so that was definitely in the back of my mind. And then it was like, okay, how do I get there? And so, in Sun, I learned to sell. I learned marketing. I learned I had people working for me, and I knew that was required tactics for me to achieve it. And then I got an opportunity to run a business. I started an IT firm and grew that to 30 people. And it just, for me, it was really about developing skill as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO. So I took that very seriously. I mean, at that point, I'd already gotten an MBA, which, sorry to any of you with a great MBA that you love, it doesn't mean no good. Maybe I went to the wrong place, but MBA is really about management. And it took that program for me to figure out that I was really more interested in leadership and value creation than management and shepherding transactions. And so I studied with an organization in California about entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, studied biology, especially neurology, philosophy, and linguistics, so that I could understand human behavior. uh, and so it is a long story. I'm sorry, Janelle.
No, don't apologize.
I th-
I have heard this, but I love it. And I'm picking up different things, and I love the way that you
yeah.
describe and kind of define the difference between, you know, being a leader and being in that leadership position versus being, you know, kind of managing and shepherding, and as you were saying,
Yeah.
and it's so true.
Yeah. Because I mean, the truth is, like, I find a lot of entrepreneurs are not that great at the business side of things. And I think you and I talked about that because you're more EOS, we call them visionary and implementer, and you have sort of these visionary traits. And sometimes it's hard to get the to-dos done and the mechanics and all that. And visionaries tend to be more creative, kind of more ADD in a way, hard to keep on track, but very curious about the world. I mean, I had a client when I was at Sun Microsystems shared an article with me from the Harvard Business Review, and it's like, how hardwired is human behavior? And that just fascinated me. I'm like, because I had sort of an engineering training, and people always baffled me in a way. And I thought, oh, sweet, I can find like somebody's going to tell me how people work. And it's like, so I got that article and I studied that and I read all the books in the bibliography. And that just really began this passion that this other course in California taught me an incredible amount about the fundamentals of human behavior that has really been the stuff that when I look at the world, that's what I see. I see those things. And so that enables me to see things in people's business and people, their behavior, because I'm watching a human being in, and it's a different phenomenon. And so my IT business, I got good at it, grew a business, very profitable. By most measures, it was successful, but I wasn't having fun with IT anymore. Everything that I was learning about how to be successful as a leader and as a manager was really about taking great care of people, you know, uh, leading them, taking not leading them where you want to go, but figuring out how to lead them where they want to go. It's a very different phenomenon when it gets down to the actual practice of it. And so I was working with these companies that were 500 million and above, and they're just very difficult environments for human beings. So it became very difficult for me to maintain that relationship with my big customers. So I wanted to take what I'd learned to other entrepreneurs. So 18 years ago, I began this journey of really trying to be of strategic benefit to entrepreneurs. And so I took a lot of the stuff that I'd learned, all these intellectual things, and most people, they're like, that's cool, Kevin, that's awesome, but I got my hair's on fire, I got stuff to do. Tell me what to do. And so I started looking for what to do, found the book Traction that you referenced, which describes EOS. And it was like, oh my God, this guy gets it. It gets it. I can explain everything in that book, why it works with biology, especially neurology, philosophy, linguistics. And so I became an EOS implementer, and I worked with these bigger companies to um, really transform them into high performing businesses. And and so that's how I got into EOS. And I found that so many solopreneurs, they weren't our target market, but they're suffering too, and they're suffering, but they have different challenges. And so I have a big spot in my heart for solopreneurs. That journey is such an authentic, heartfelt thing. I mean, it's such a human drama. And I want to help people. And so I want to bring this stuff to them. So I started a program for them that was really sort of a bono thing to help a brother out. And, and, uh, and I got such a positive response to it. Everybody loved it. I was in a referral group, and every week those guys, like 3 people, would say how awesome it was. It was a little embarrassing. I was like, you guys kind of mellow it, it's quiet. Shh. But I said, okay, I got to do more of this. And so I began the process of growing that business. So now I do both. I help those solopreneurs that are ambitious, that want to get to the point where they have a leadership team someday. I help them get there as quickly and easily as possible. So that's my journey, Janelle.
I love it. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, that's incredible. But it sounds like you've really embraced the notion of emotional intelligence and how important that is in
Truly.
kind of people evolving and truly living up to their vision and implementing their vision.
Yeah, I mean, so there. there's this thing in big companies, they say sort of like leave your emotions at the door. There's this kind of thing, yeah, well, that's your personal life, you don't want to, and it's like, that's, but that's not how we work. We carry our humanity everywhere we go, and we're thinking, but we're feeling entities, and we're meaning machines. This is one of the things that I learned early on in working with organizations. I discovered this toolkit called appreciative inquiry, and really dove in. Viktor Frankl's book Man's Search for Meaning was very impactful for me. That just how essential, if you want to live a great life, having some meaning. You got to have meaning in your life. We're meaning machines. And so and this is one of the things I work on with my solopreneurs, designing your business is really about how do you serve the people that you love, addressing concerns that matter to you, and doing it in a way that fits your body. And so it's an, business design from my perspective is an internal inquiry. It's like, who do I love? I ask people that, they don't have the answers to it. And I didn't when I started this journey, trying to, because I got to my point with my big company. It's like I wasn't having fun. It was killing me. I had a successful business that was not in alignment with my heart and soul. It didn't fit who I was. It served a market out there, served them well. They paid me well, but I didn't dig it, and it was killing me. And so I resolved to love my work. And the more that I see that, and that's something that I bring with my clients, because if you have a passion about about the impact you're having in the world, it's amazing the stuff that you can tolerate in business, because that's the crap of business doesn't go away. I still have to do these to-dos that I don't want to do, but I do them now because I really want the outcome. It matters a lot to me. So yeah, there's a human in there, and they care about stuff. And so how do you design your business to serve other human beings, external to your business and internal to your business? I think we're seeing a big trend in the world today where employees are not feeling served. They're feeling, what I've been talking about, that they're not in this environment that's meaningful, that this and this whole quiet quitting and the great resignation to me is an expression of dissatisfaction of employees with the constitution of businesses that are just, oh, we'll pay you more money, you know. Um, any, anyway, I do get on rants, so thanks.
Well, I think it's great, and I find it fascinating. So I'm hoping that our listeners do too.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things that I think is really exciting about what you do, and exciting even just to hear you express, is that when you talk about somebody who has a passion and who has something or this problem that they're looking to solve or give back, and then helping them and watching that happen and helping them monetize that and put value to it and actually be able to earn an income and kind of change and shape their lives into this thing that they love to do. And but you never work a day in your life if you love what you do, right? But with that, I kind of wanted to touch on how you've been able to change your life with what you're doing, and kind of taking your business more on the road, and what prompted you to start looking at things that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because I don't think our culture is really adept at teaching people how to live a meaningful life. And so these are conversations that are not readily accessible to most people. One of the things in EOS, we talk about your core focus, which is your purpose, cause, and passion for your business. And so we specify what that is. And so I get with people, it's like, so what drives you in business? And it's a difficult question for us. We don't really have it. 18 years ago when I was done with that other business, it's like, I'm going to love my job. And it's like, well, how do I do that? I don't know. Like, what do I, so it's like, okay. And to me, it starts with, who do you love? And I had to say that the love had been leached out of me a little bit, where I mean, capacity to empathize, to put myself, I think that the corporatization of our lives has leached the love out of us a little bit. And so to me, it's been a process of connecting. I'll tell you, one of the first things I did is I went into a bookstore and just looked at book titles and magazines to just see what triggered an emotional reaction in me, because I'd lost such touch with joyfulness. And
Wow.
so, there. it's like this process to connect with yourself, and I see that in all my clients too, where it's like they don't really know, and I've become kind of a good, you know, I don't have the answer to what makes you passionate, right? But I'm pretty good at digging it and helping people find it inside of themselves because I've just done it enough. But that journey is like, and for me, it's become, um, I just really think that we're here for a limited amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
and so for me, it's like I want to wring as much out of this as I can. And it's like, why not? To me, that's this artful existence. One of the images I have in my mind is me in my 80s writing a book of my biography, and I want it to be amazing. I want it to be a great story. Uh, Sadhguru is this guy I see on Facebook a lot. He's at the place where people die a lot of times. He's at their last breaths. And somebody asked him about that. And he says, 85% of the people, I can see it in their eyes as they're starting to go away, they have a realization and they have a look of bewilderment, he said. And that look of bewilderment is the recognition that they're about to die and yet they'd never lived. And to me, that's been my biggest fear in life, to get to that point and look back and say, well, isn't that crazy? 85%. That's an amazing vision to me. 85% of the people. And so it's like, you never lived. And so it's like, oh my God, how many of us are not living our lives? And to me, entrepreneurship is one of the best paths to live your fullest, best life because I get to define my job description. And so there's a lot of pain and suffering along the way, don't get me wrong. But to me, it's like, um, so one of the things that I work with people is on the vision, and I have a vision for my life where I want to take it, and it's important to me. And as much as I want to get there, and what I tell people is like, I want to get there, but if I never do, that's okay. And I think that's the proper image because it's moving toward it that gives my life meaning, that makes me excited, that allows me to make a difference. When I if I'm doing the work for, some places, how much research do I do to try to get better at it? With what I'm doing now, I'm like a sponge. Everywhere I go, I pick up stuff because I love that notion. So it's making my journey so much better. And so it has been this exploration of what's that journey. And I watched myself sharing this kind of conversation with my customers, my solopreneur customers especially, and really digging with them. It's like, you got to design this business so it fits your life. And I started watching myself and it's like, oh, how am I doing that? And so I really had to look at, am I doing this in every way that I can in terms of, um, and it's not, and it sounds like a slog in a way, and I don't hurt myself. You know what I mean? It's like, so what you're alluding to, just a little bit is like, I'm on the road. I've lived in an RV for 2.5 years, 2 years and a quarter. And I was in an apartment. I'd owned too many properties, and that was too much for me. It's like, okay, I'll let someone else change the light bulbs. Did that for 7 years, and it's like, okay, I'm really comfortable, and so it's like I'd always wanted to travel, and so I had this opportunity. Everything was pointing. It's like, okay, I need to do that, and so I'm out. Um, I'm and the thing is, like, people say that must be a great. It's like, it kind of sucks in a way. There's a lot that sucks. I knew I had this podcast today, and last night I ran the generator, and I ran out of gas. So this morning I had to get up early, get everything packed, and go get gas and come back so that I had the electricity. So it's like it's an expensive life in a way. But I wish I could show you. I mean, I might take you outside and let you see the view. I'm looking at this. I'm on a reservoir. I just drove here last night, parked on this reservoir. And if I look at the pictures of my last 2 years, it's stunning, and it's just so great to do all of that. And it comes from this, like, okay, I mean, I might as well live the most for me while I'm here. And we don't, and the thing is, like, we don't know what that is. We don't know what the most is. And what I tell, my clients is like, you're not sure where to take your business. Take a direction, go there and see what your body tells you. How does that feel? And I drove in here last night, and it's like, you know what? This feels great. I am so glad I'm on this crazy adventure. I'm in New Mexico. I traveled from South Padre Island where I'm learning to kiteboard. And, anyway,
I
it's
I think that's so cool. I don't know how else to say it, though. That's just pretty cool. I was talking with Grant, our producer, before this, and he had mentioned you had been on another podcast, and we both just aspire to that. So we both can agree that we're going to aspire to do something similar.
I'm really curious as to how I mean, it sounds easy, but it's not. I mean, to get that feeling and take that leap of faith, knowing that, okay, maybe you only see the next step, but knowing that the other steps are there. You just have to take it one at a time and keep moving forward. How do you, I guess, empower people or encourage people to kind of look beyond just kind of the larger picture, the bigger vision?
Yeah, I think I think it starts with the capacity for dreaming, and we've stymied that, and so many people have silenced this voice in our heads about like what's possible, what could I do, because there's so many pressures in our lives, other friends, parents, all have the sense of like, don't get beyond yourself, oh, that'll never happen anyway. The skeptic in us stops the dreamer before he makes any momentum. And so if you don't have a vision of of a of a future that you would love, then you'll never move toward anything. And so it starts with this just speculative, and so whatever you guys are feeling, and based upon what my story is, you probably don't want to do what I'm doing, but what's your version of that? And our tendency is for you guys to leave the meeting and go like, oh well, that's Kevin, that's not me, or whatever. And so to me it's like, no, you've got to embrace that dreamer and you take some time, silence the skeptic. The skeptic can come in later, because you can't do stupid stuff. I mean, I'm not saying I went and I talked to like 20 people, my friends, and say, I'm thinking about doing this, what do you think? And I was waiting for someone, please tell me this is crazy, don't do this. And nobody told me. And so it's like, okay, I mean, there's no reason not to do this. The only reason is fear. And fear is such a big force in our lives. And
I think that that's where, when you look at that 85% figure of people that realize at the end of their life that they haven't lived, it's because a lot of our choices are motivated by fear, in many
very
ways.
True.
And it can be completely paralyzing for some, or just keeping people very complacent, because what's comfortable is what's known and easy. And I think too, when you're talking about life in general, we talk about, have you lived? And you talk about, your life and your experiences, and how it's hard. Like there are hard aspects to that, but everything's an ebb and a flow. You can't have the joy without, the hardships and the heartache, and same thing with, it's love and light. It's the yin and the yang. So it's really great to hear that experience and that journey. And like you said, it's everybody kind of has their own piece of it, and it'll take you wherever you want to go, but you got to have the opportunity and the willingness to take those risks.
I think it's interesting that you said you threw out your vision or your dream out to everybody, and there wasn't a naysayer. I had read a quote by this gentleman that I follow, and he said to kind of let loose that inner dreamer and, create this dream for your life, and then don't tell anybody, because the minute you tell people, you get so many different naysayers that are going to come and try to talk you out of it and steer you away from your dream. So I thought that was kind of interesting when you say that.
So there's another step in there. Quit hanging out with those people.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
I don't have those people in my life. I don't. That negative orientation. I don't. And this has been a 30-year process for me. When I encounter someone that is, and it's not their fault, right? They're gripped in the narrative of our culture, right? So there's just so much negativity. I mean, if you're not paying attention and if you're not forcing yourself to a different place, you will end up in that negative naysayer place. And I stopped watching local news 30 years ago. I stopped watching national news 20 years ago. I stopped listening to NPR like 10 years ago. Where there's like all these negative images that shape our neurology. I mean, you can't, reciprocal coonogenic structural coupling, it's a biological process. You can't avoid it. It is a pressure on you. It is a force. And so unless you are actively working against it, it will consume you. And so, yeah, if you've got those people in your lives, rather than dreaming, figure out how you can surround yourself with people who are, um, um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I hate to be. I mean, it's such a pervasive thing right now, and I hate to, label it or anything, but it's just not. It's a less healthy approach to life. To, I can look out and I can see an infinity of things in my world, and I have a choice what I pull out from the background. And what our news pulls out from the background is all the negative stories in the world. Well, there are positive stories in the world. I'm surrounded by positive things happening to people, and our brain reproduces the things that it's presented with. So if you present it with negative stuff, it will reproduce negative stuff. If you present it with the positive stuff, it will reproduce the positive stuff. This is not airy fairy, this is fundamental biology. And we've sort of lost track of it. And the problem is, people make billions of dollars by making you unsatisfied with yourself. And so, I mean, I'm grateful that the inquiry that I've been on in terms of people I took a scientific approach, but then I went down the spiritual path from that scientific basis. And and I'm grateful for that, because that is that spiritual journey in terms of, like, what is the world? How does it work? That we don't have enough of, right? It's like, start watching Sadhguru. He's awesome. He's got it pegged, and he communicates beautifully. Um, so yeah, if you're surrounded by people, I mean, you can't achieve your dreams if you are steeped in people who are going to be naysayers. So you've got to. That's a thing.
I think that's great advice. And I think that was really relevant to bring up to Diane, because I've read that too, that there's always going to be somebody who wants to see you fail. So don't overshare, don't share everything, which is my downfall. I'm always an overshare.
Well, and I think it goes against our human nature, because we get excited and we want to share it with everybody, and we tell them, and we want them to be as excited as we are. And I think it comes, for most people, I think it comes from a place of goodwill. I don't think they want to see you fail. They're worried. They want to protect you. But again, it's like you said, you have to disassociate yourself with them, and you have to protect your dream and get it out there to people that are going to encourage you and give you the tools necessary to help you make that come true.
Absolutely. Well, and
maybe
I know
it's
that
not eliminating those.
Sorry, go ahead.
But maybe it's not eliminating those people in your lives. Maybe it's more about accentuating those positive people, and they're trying to help you by sharing the fear, and the intention is good, but it really doesn't serve you. When I'm working with entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, I'll spend an hour, with almost anybody to try to help them with their business, and I'll give them some thoughts throughout it. And the end of it, I'll tell them the biggest thing that I told you that you can't not do is you have to talk to other people. Solopreneurs are in their own heads. You have to talk to other people, and so you have to find those people who can be supportive. You can't just don't talk to just anybody.
Right.
But so
your
to me,
circle of
that
trust.
advice to not talk to people. We are biological. We are social animals. We require that interaction with other human beings, and if we're going to do something big like business, we need that other energy. If we just stay inside our own heads, I was telling Janelle this, like, we've got a lot of great ideas in there. The problem is we got a lot of crazy ideas in there too.
Yes.
And we don't know the difference unless we talk to other people who are balanced and positive. So anyway,
it's great.
Those are great points.
So we've talked a little bit about where you're at, your dream, kind of how you made this come to fruition. So as we look at, kind of what you do and how you work with other businesses, what are some trends and shifts that you're seeing in business with the individuals that you've worked with, or even maybe beyond, in kind of this post-COVID era that we're in? Because, we've made we've conjectured a couple things, from just what we've observed, and just, priorities, different things that people are taking into consideration that they maybe weren't before, just because it's shaped our perspective in such a different way.
Yeah, I mean, there are some interesting trends, and they've been going on for a while, and they're going to continue to go on, which is this general dissatisfaction of a meaningless career, just where work, where you're just making money. That there are enough people now, you know. So I started this work like 20 years ago. So if you talked about building a business that's meaningful to you, coherent with your heart and soul, I would have been this woo-woo, airy fairy guy out there, but it's becoming much, people are aware of it. We've got Simon Sinek, it's about the why. And whenever I talk to people, they say, oh, Simon Sinek. It's like, sweet. We've got several standard bearers in the industry talking about passion, alignment with your heart and soul, doing things that matter, helping people, doing real things. And it's sort of poisoning the the side of the American dream, which is they're very corporatized, money at all costs kind of facet of the American life. And you hear a lot of complaints about this, like the great resignation, I think, is an expression of this trend where people are going, there's got to be more to life than just making money. Those 85% of the people that get to the end of their lives and say, I never lived. I earned a lot of money along the way. I paid the bills, but I never lived. That's becoming more, people are more aware of that. And so people are becoming more aware of it for themselves. And I think that business is in sort of this denial right now. I mean, the notion that we call this quiet quitting is just so crazy to me. It's like people doing the work for which they were hired. I see a lot of leaders and business owners. If you had a lot of your customers leaving and couldn't get customers anymore, would you really point to your customers and say they're just stupid? I mean, a lot of people are doing this. Millennials, Applebee's that can't stand business because the millennials aren't, it's like, really? I mean, so if your business and your customers are going away, bring more value to them. Bring more value to them. And the same is the case if employees aren't coming to you, bring more value to them, not your conception of who they should be, but to them. And so I think that we're at the the business side, the people that are very business oriented, transactional, making lots of money, well, we got to help people along the way, I guess, those people are getting a lot of pressure because of the way that the trend, the broad trend is more towards, I need to live a meaningful life. And there's a lot about this, just the American dream, where in the American dream was to live a meaningful life. And it wasn't there, but I think it's in competition with a lot of the other sort of American dreams. Like American dream professionally is like a title, right? So I'm a big shot, um, or as much money as I can make, and so it's in competition with that. So I think that's one of the big trends. When I talk to people about um, having a business, so when the people that are like me that help entrepreneurs, the way that they tell them to start a business is find some market out there that's feeling some pain, and then become what they need to solve that pain. And to me, it's just a brutal, incorrect approach,
Mm-hmm.
because the proper approach is to figure out who you are. What do you love? Who do you love to serve? What impact do you want to see in the world? And then find out how to resonate with those people. In other words, start from, it's an internal job. And it's easier and easier and easier for me to have these conversations with people without them looking at me like I'm a nut job. Because if you come from big corporate America, I sound, it's like wacky. It's like, no, dude, this is,
Airy fairy
I was
is
on,
going to be, I'm
I
like,
like that. Airy
yeah,
fairy.
you should.
I was on another podcast and I was talking to the guy about that. And he says, I'm going to have to interrupt you here. And because I want to, hearing what my audience is seeing, this sounds very Pollyanna-ish, like, oh, we need to make money. And it's like, it blows me away because I am a capitalist. It's like, how do you make the most money? You serve people the best. Do you do the
Mm-hmm.
most for them in a way that matters most for them? You laser like dig into that, become, you know, irrepressible in your need to make a difference in someone's life, but make it in the lives of someone that you really care about. So when it happens, you're just filled with so much joy that you can't stand it. And then, passion is seductive. I'm in these referral groups and people are like, I do this for these people. It's like, I'm never going to buy anything from you. No, I'm never going to refer you. If you're not excited about what you do, if you're not excited, I mean, we all feel it. Somebody describes what they do and they're flat and there's no enthusiasm. It's like, gross. I don't want to talk to you. And so it's the way to kill it. It's the way to crush it. My business passion is to help you get the biggest margins. You're making 7% profit margins. I want you to make 20% profit margins. I want you to grow your profit 3 times, grow the money 3 times without changing the size of your business. That's awesome. And how do you
Mm-hmm.
do that? You got to figure out, you got to make a big difference in people's lives, and you got to do it in a way that fills you with joy. And and these are the people that crush it. They make a lot of money.
Absolutely. So it brings us to our next point is what do you do to help businesses grow and get there? And how does EOS relate or play into that?
Yeah. Yeah, so EOS is a tool set to help companies that have a lot, they've gotten to the point where they've got a bunch of people. And now they've got this new problem. How do I lead these people in a way that's effective? And the people that I work with tend to be frustrated because, people aren't doing what they need to do, that the leader is working way too hard. They're spending their time in firefight mode. And EOS is a set of tools and practices that will let you lead your business well. Everybody will say, man, that guy's a great leader. And it's like, well, it's the things that you did. You did these things, and you will create a beautiful business where the number of hours that you have to work reduce. Your smile will come back to you. You'll be able to live a better life, and you will love to come to work, and you'll be working with people that you love. That's what EOS does. I also work, and so the best thing I can do for those companies is help them implement EOS. As much as I think I'm on, I know a lot of stuff and I'm a good consultant. The best thing I can do for those people is help them implement EOS, because it'll back them against the corner. They will do the right things. They will steer their business in the right direction, and it will turn out way better than it would if they hadn't implemented it. For those companies that are small, maybe one person, it may be 10 people, but no managers. But the leader of that has an ambition. They want to run a bigger business. They want to have a leadership team. I help those guys get there as quickly and easily as possible. And I have a program. I create a peer group program because you need other people to talk to. You need other people
Mm-hmm.
to design with. I have a structure. I have online courses to teach the concept specifically. What do you do this? How do you design a business that resonates not just for you, but for the customers that you want to have as customers? What are the mechanics involved? Because as much as I'm interested in this sort of that spiritual airy fairy piece, at the end of the day, you've got to do pragmatic, concrete things to make that happen. A lot of people don't know what those are. And I guide the way, and I teach them how to do that. I teach them how to think about the business. It's really fun at the end of this, so they're all helping each other. So it's a 6-month program. We meet as peers. They've got homework. They execute on that, and then they meet as peers and help each other. It's such a fast, this last program I had started with 8, ended with 6. 5 of them had a transformative experience out of it, where they just really see themselves very differently. The passion, the way they're after their business is just stunning to watch. And what's almost more fun is I watch them talking to other business owners, and they've learned how to have this conversation about how to build a better business, how to build a brilliant business. And so, this process teaches them the things that really matter. I call it fastest route, because people are in these little cul-de-sacs working on stuff that doesn't matter because they've been trained by venture capital, billion-dollar companies, multi-mega, but that's not the situation of solopreneurs. And so I help them work on the things that matter most for solopreneurs to get them to the point where they get a leadership team where life starts to get a lot easier and
Yeah, well,
safer.
and I think too, like you're talking about your referral network and that group, and people saying what they do. I
Yeah.
think it's really easy when you're that solopreneur to like if you don't have those tools or that toolkit, it's easy to get that burnout and to not
Oh
feel
yeah.
so excited about what you're doing anymore because you're not doing where your passion is. You're not doing what you started off to do. You're doing HR and QuickBooks and all of the hats that really aren't what you
Yeah.
got into business to do. But yeah, so.
Yeah.
Um,
Suck it up. Suck it
Right.
up. That's what we've all learned to do. Suck it up. We've
Yep.
all been we've developed to choke it down, slam it down, suck it up, do it. I know you hate it. Shut up, do it. It's like, no, anyway,
Eat the frog.
eat the frog,
But
eat it.
yeah. So thank you so much for joining and sharing
My pleasure.
about your journey and what you're doing and all of
You're
the
welcome.
exciting things that you're doing to support business. We we need more of Kevin, and we're excited to learn more and possibly have you get back on our show, but also to be working with you at the Chamber on some different initiatives as well. So the conversation is over for purposes of today, but it's not over. We're going to keep this going because you've got a lot of good stuff to share, and we want to make sure that we're sharing that with our members and connecting them to resources they need to learn and grow. And I think that, if there's one takeaway today, it's, constantly evolve, grow,
Yeah.
challenge
And
yourselves.
thank you guys for what you do. I mean, what you do is very important, So the entrepreneurs are the center of the storm for moving the business or moving the world forward. This is where innovations come from. The world's going to become a better place because of people like entrepreneurs, and they need help. They need lots of help, and you guys are there for them. And that's a big job. That's a very important job, and I appreciate what you do. It matters. It really matters a lot. So thank you guys for what you do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we feel meaning in it. We definitely do. It's a job that I feel we get to make a really positive impact. So it's exciting stuff.
It's important.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. I mean,
You're very welcome.
I agree with Janelle. It's fascinating. I could just listen to you all day. Just pick your brain on so many different. Yeah, we'll definitely continue the conversation.
I'm here to help. I mean, I do what I do because I love these guys. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
Entrepreneurs are prickly, crusty a lot of ways. They're I'm annoying. You know what I mean, in my own way. But I love the passion, and I love those guys. And so I'll often offer up an hour conversation with anybody. They're struggling, and I can generally help them sort of right the ship and move it in a better direction, where at the end of it they go like, oh my God, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, right? Then I'll go that way. So happy to help any way that I can. So thank you guys.
And what we'll do, and Kevin, I don't think I even asked you if this was okay, so hopefully it is, but we'd love to plug your contact information into the show notes, so anybody that tuned in today could reach out to you directly if they have any more questions or anything like that.
So it's pretty easy. My email is kevin@suboski.com.
Okay.
SUBOSKI.com. So that's the easy. I have multiple emails. I'm a modern man, right? So like everyone else, I have 7 emails, but that's the one that's the easy one to communicate. So yeah, I'm happy to help.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. We look forward to next time.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks.